So, welcome to Augusta Distillery. My name is Corey, and today I'm going to be your guide on the tastings of 3 different barrels of bourbon. These 3 bourbons are all different proofs, mash bills, and also their ages. Now, before I get carried away, where are you coming from today?
Germany probably, as well, and maybe even the US or UK.
Okay, well, I am very well aware I have an Eastern Kentucky accent. If you have a hard time understanding me, just drink more bourbon. You'll eventually get there, I promise. Now, what is your bourbon knowledge? Be honest, 0 to 10. 0, you know it's brown in color. 10, you may have read a couple books. 10? Well, good, because I'm a solid 2.5. Just don't let me know when I'm lying. So my goal is to get bourbon in your glass as quickly as possible. 1, I like to drink with you. So I'm not going to bore you right out of the gate. I'm going to do 1 bourbon law, then sprinkle throughout. The first bourbon law that I like to talk about is the mash bill. 51% corn or more. If you ever forget that number, we have a shirt out there that says it. That's how proud we are of 51% corn. Industry average, 65 to upper 70s, minimum 51%. Now, the second grain is known as your flavor grain. If it is a wheated bourbon, think of Pappy and Weller and Maker's Mark, but sweeter, a little bit smoother. Now, if that second grain is rye, think of Jim Beam. Spicy, back here on the back side of your jowls. Both great in their own way, just depends on what you like preferably. Third grain is called malted barley. Malted barley normally don't add a whole lot of flavoring unless you get around 10 to 12% or higher. Then if you enjoy a good single malt scotch, you may tend to like those higher malted bourbons because you like a good scotch. So, are we ready to have some fun?
Yeah.
Ready to start drinking?
Yep.
I mean, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So, this tour is very interactive, mainly because I'm lazy. Not really. So, this first tool we're going to be using is called a bung puller, B-U-N-G puller. That makes this piece of wood here called the bung. Now, first dirty joke of the day, what's the hole called?
The bung hole.
The bung hole, that's right. Have you ever opened a barrel before? Good news, you're going to do it here today too. So, if you want to, you can come on up. All right, so Jason, what you're going to do is you're going to kind of bend your knees a little bit, put your thumbs over the square, because I do not want to see you leave out of here with a square tattoo. So, basically, just like a big slide hammer, 1 swift motion above your head. All right, I'm going to count you down. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Hey, first time I was around a bung hole, I got excited too. Now, here at this distillery, we always say the first time you pop a bung here, you will always remember your first.
Thank you very much.
Next tool is going to be this. I'm very well aware what this looks like. Get your mind out of the gutter, Jason. Technical term is a whiskey thief. And what does a thief do?
The lynch takes
Yep.
whiskey out of the barrel.
That's right, it steals. So, have you been on terrible dates before?
Not many.
Not many? Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you're lucky. I've been on a couple terrible dates. I've been married 11 years almost. Hope my dates are behind myself.
Yeah.
But on those terrible dates, I used to play with my straw. Thumb on one end of the straw, lift it up out, slower, quicker. It's just an impressive looking copper straw. So Jason, what I would like is for you to bring up glass number 1 off your table. I'm going to hold the glass, and you get to do the whiskey thieving.
Oh, good.
All right, so if you want to,
Yep.
put your thumb on that hole, lift it up out. All right, thumb off. Perfect. So all I ask is you refrain from tasting it just yet. I would like to sample one with you. Let me grab me a glass. My glass may look bigger than yours, but I'm just going to get a little bit. All right, Jason. Have you had any neat bourbon today?
Today, no.
Love it. Do you know why? That first sip face.
That's a lie. It tastes a little.
It's okay. It's okay. I normally love that first sip face, seeing the redness creep up. It brings joy to me. But since you didn't wait on me, you know, it's okay. Before we taste, I want us to nose. I want you to hold it at the brim of your nose, breathe through your nose and out of your mouth. Now, as a sided note, some people don't know this, if you hold it in the same spot but breathe through your mouth, it's a little different taste and flavor on your palate. So, what do you smell on your palate? Some people can say, Corey, I smell bourbon. You got a very good nose. Corey, I smell alcohol. I promise you it's in there. But some people, if you look at your little table over there, some people can smell coffee, tobacco, leather, cinnamon, fig, cedar, pine, anything. Do you smell anything unique? Is it sweet or spicy?
Sweet.
Sweet? Okay. So here at this distillery, I'm going to tell you how to take your first official sip in this room. I'm going to tell you the rules, and I want you to do it. First thing, take a small sip, coat your cheeks and your tongue for about 10 seconds. Don't swoosh it like Listerine, kind of vibe with it like you're jamming out to a band. After that 10 seconds, swallow and then blow out like you ate a hot pepper. Just please, swallow before you blow. Bad things happen if you blow and then swallow. Cheers, Jason.
Cheers. Cheers.
Woo! That is what we call bourbon. Now, I'm going to explain another law to you really quick, and that is the word proof. Proof is the alcohol content times 2. So leaving our copper still at 160 proof or lower, that is because we're not making Everclear. If it's above 160 proof, you're stripping the grains of their flavors, and we don't want to do that. We want you to taste what grain we're putting in this. Going into the containers at 125 or lower, and then going into the bottle, bourbon whiskey is the same for all whiskeys. It has to be put in the bottle at 80 proof or higher. So Jason, in your day-to-day life, what proof do you normally drink at? Above 100 or below 100?
100 plus.
100 plus? Good news, you're going to remember my name. That's because at this distillery, we do not proof anything down. Not because you shouldn't, but because we shouldn't make you drink it at a lower proof if you don't want to. So on your table, there's a water dropper. Feel free to add a couple drops. There's no right or wrong way to drink bourbon. One of the best master distillers of all time, his name was Elmer T. Lee. He only preferred his bourbon with Sprite. And one of the best to ever make it, didn't like it neat that much. I'm not going to make you drink it neat if you don't want to. Now this one right here is the lowest proof of the day. So it only goes up from here. Good news for you and myself. This one here is coming in at a very measly 111.5 proof. So lowest on, buckle up, it gets higher from here. Now on your palate, was this one sweet or spicy?
More sweet still.
More sweet still? You're going to be amazed when you hear about the mash bill. This mash bill says it should be spicy because it is a high rye mash bill. This one right here is coming in at 65% corn, 25% rye, and 10% malted barley. Now that mash bill says it should be hot, but it's not. Why is that? Well, this one here is a 4-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon. Now, at this distillery, we do not rotate barrels. We do not blend. 99.9% of our products are cast strength, single barrel. You could almost say rickhouse strength. So this barrel here spent its life on the bottom in the middle of its rickhouse. So for bourbon to age, it's got to get hot, cold, hot, cold. This one right here didn't get that opportunity because it's in the middle. It's very well insulated. So this one here, you could almost say is an immature 4-year-old, which some people, like myself, it's great. Because if you're wanting to get into rye whiskeys, if you're wanting to get into rye bourbons in general, because you've always been a wheated guy, this is a great stepping stone. Because it does have that spiciness back here, but it's not going to knock you on your butt like a normal high rye bourbon or rye whiskey would. So, Jason, do you have any questions about this one before we move on? Awesome. Well, we're about to jump into something 100% different. The only thing that is the same is it is a Kentucky straight bourbon. So, got my handy dandy bung puller. Would you like me to pop this one, Jason? All right. Had to make sure that one went in one pull. All right. So this one right here has the best smell out of a single barrel bourbon that I've ever smelled. Want to grab your second glass and we'll get this one in there.
Let's go for it.
Yep. Some people always ask me, hey, can I lick the barrel? Note to the wise, splinters on your tongue can hurt. Don't ask me how I know that. So, what do you smell on this one, Jason?
Oh, it's much deeper. It's almost like a double oak.
Almost like a double oak?
Yeah.
I love that analogy. Now, this one here always gets off-the-wall answers. I had someone say they smelled cheese before, and I'm like, I ain't going to tell you you're wrong because your nose is different than mine. I may never smell that double oak that you get, but that's the joy about what makes bourbon. So go ahead and give this one a good sip. Let me know what you think. Sweeter? Is it smoother or hotter?
It's a little hotter.
A little hotter on the front or the back? Back? Okay. So most people equate the word proof to hotness. And I learned really early on that's not 100% accurate. That is because I've been at this distillery for almost a year. My year anniversary is August 23rd. So next Friday, my 1 year here.
Congratulations.
My first taste of alcohol was 2 weeks after I started here. I didn't even drink beer, wine, brandy, nothing. Kind of had a virgin tongue, you can kind of say. Now, my first taste of alcohol was not an 80 proof bourbon. It wasn't 120 proof. My first taste was 138 proof Buckner's 13. Now, if you've never heard of our brands before, Buckner's 13 was literally voted the world's best bourbon last year in San Francisco World Wine and Spirits competitions. Kind of hard when you start at the top to work your way down. I kind of got spoiled really early on by good cask strength bourbon. That was also a $200 bottle. And if I would have brought a $200 bottle home to my wife, who I love dearly, I wouldn't have the ring anymore, let's just say that. So I went to my local liquor store. Bourbon's bourbon, what I've always been told. I spent $30 on a bottle of bourbon, 90 proof, 10 years old, and I learned really quick. Proof means jack crap. That 90 proof lit me up all the way down. Age didn't matter because it was still a 10-year-old bourbon, but it lit my mouth on fire. Now, this one right here, most people say it's a little bit smoother. This one here is coming in at 119.5 proof. So almost at 60% alcohol. So, which one of these did you like better, Jason? 1 or 2? You like number 2? Okay. So you have a very vast bourbon knowledge, I'm assuming, right? How many 2-year-old bourbons have you ever liked? A few? Not very many? Handful?
Yeah.
This one right here is a 2-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon. It's a baby in the bourbon world, right? It's a toddler. Most bourbon people would never even look at a 2-year-old. That's why it's in here. If you're looking at your big long bourbon wall, if you see a 4-year-old bottle next to a 2-year-old, knowledge tells you to go to the 4-year-old. But it's okay to be wrong. I didn't drink for the first 31 years of my life, and that was wrong. It was a mistake. It's okay to be wrong. Now, the mash bill on this one 100% helps. Mash bill is 51% corn. So the lowest it could ever be and still be considered a bourbon. The second grain is wheat at 45% and 4% malted barley. So this one right here, high wheated bourbon, high rye bourbon. The two biggest styles of bourbon separated 100%. Now, most people say, Corey, that's smooth. I could drink it from sun up till sun down. My response is good luck. Your bedtime is going to be a little earlier than usual if you start on this 60% alcohol really early in the morning. So, do we like this one, Jason?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we've got one more to open. After we get this one open, I want to go over bourbon terminology, what we do with our barrels afterwards, and I'm going to let you know a little bit about some of our products out there. That way you may know what you want to try after this. So, This one right here is special to myself because this is my favorite single barrel bourbon that we have in the distillery. I love everything about this bourbon. So if you don't love this one, Jason, don't tell me. Don't tell me. I'll go home and cry to my wife. All right, let me have your glass. There you go, my friend. So go ahead and, if you want to, go ahead and sip this one at will. And after you do this one, go back and try those other two. You'll be amazed now that you're a couple sips into this distillery, your palate's going to warm up to these other two a lot more now. So bourbon terminology, what is it? To be a Kentucky bourbon, it has to be produced in this state, and it has to be held in this state for a minimum of 1 year. Meaning if we produce bourbon on the banks of the Ohio River, and as soon as it's produced, bring them over here, can never be a Kentucky bourbon because it wasn't produced on Kentucky soil. Now, to be a straight bourbon, it has to be in the barrel for 2 years. After it is a Kentucky straight bourbon, that name will follow it no matter where it goes. If the day after this one turned 2, we decided to take this one up to Europe, over to Germany, guess what? This one here would still be called a Kentucky straight bourbon. Now, everything stays the same up until about the 4-year-old mark. At the 4-year-old mark, you can now be considered a bottle and bond bottle. Have you ever heard of a bottle and bond? Sure you have. So, to be a bottle and bond, just a quick recap, has to be produced in the same season, so the first half or the last half, held in a government-controlled rickhouse, which to me sounds terrible. And then lastly, it has to be put in the bottle at 100 proof, okay? So that's to be a bottle and bond. We don't do that here because we don't proof anything down. But, Jason, in your day-to-day life, what do you think is more important? Food and drugs or the great old bourbon whiskey?
Let's go for bourbon.
Bourbon? Well, guess what? The good old USA thought that too. Have you ever heard of the FDA, the Pure Food and Drug Act? That was formed to regulate food and drugs in 1906. The Bottle and Bond Act to regulate bourbon whiskey, 1897. 9 years before this country thought about regulating penicillin and bread, they're like, bourbon whiskey needs to be regulated. Now that was for a lot of one reason, taxes. We as a distillery pay taxes on this bourbon every single year at 53 gallons. Now, it don't stay 53 gallons for long. The first year of life, you lose around 11% inside that rickhouse. Now, every year after that, it's around the 4 to 8% mark. Now, to put that in perspective on pounds, a freshly charred oaked barrel will weigh in the ballpark of 105 pounds, brand spanking new, right? So heavy. After 8 years, most of the barrels that produce our old Route 8 brand, they weigh around 125, 128 pounds. So in 8 years, 20 pounds of bourbon has absorbed into that barrel that we will never get back. Now, that's called the devil's cut. The angel share is what's evaporated out of the barrels that we'll never get back as well. So at the 2-year-old mark, we get an average of 230 bottles out of a barrel. Pretty good amount. That's why this 2-year-old is the cheapest in the distillery at $59. Now, that Buckner 17 up there, that's $399. That first barrel, we had around 15 bottles come out. It was heartbreaking. But we've been averaging close to 50, right? Some of the barrels are upwards around 100, but we're averaging around 50, which is insane. That's why that one there's $399. We have less to give. After the angel shares, the devil's cut, and a good old American tax system, that's how we make a profit. Now, also at the 4-year-old mark, another thing changes. Jason, in your big bourbon collection, how many bottles do you own that does not have an age statement? Quite a few, right? After it has been in the barrel for 4 years and 1 day, you are no longer legally required to put the age statement on the bottle. Fun fact, if yours don't have an age statement, I can about bet you they're 4 years and 1 day old. It would make no sense in my mind to put a 7 or 8 year old bourbon into a bottle unless I told you how old it was, right? That is why every bottle from this distillery has an age statement, ranging from this 2-year-old up to that 17-year-old. That way you know exactly how old that bourbon is. Now, last thing I'm going to cover is what we do with our barrels afterwards, and that brings me to another bourbon law. Brand new charred oak container. The brand new part is what sucks. It's terrible, because once this is empty, no longer brand new anymore. So what do we do with it? One, we make nice furniture out of them, mostly tables. In fact, most of these barrels, I think, are the Buckner's 15 lineup barrels that we had. So really expensive bottoms of tables. Now, most people will send them to breweries to make that good old bourbon barrel-aged stout. Wineries for bourbon barrel-aged wine Cabernet. Fun fact, Jason, I'm from Eastern Kentucky. I couldn't say the word Cabernet for a very long time. I had to practice on my wife for that one. Or you can send them over to Scotland for their Scotch. In Scotland, they can reuse barrels. It just has to be in the barrel for 3 years or longer. They can reuse the barrel many times they want to. Now, you can age anything though. Tequila, brandy, rum, wine, anything. The last 10 to 15 years, you can start finding a lot of honey and maple syrup starting to be aged in spent bourbon barrels. If you've never had bourbon barrel aged honey, I bought some the other day and it changed my life. Just saying, it's really good. Now, do you like Tabasco hot sauce, Jason? Well, guess what? If you know anybody that does, you can now let them know for a fact that that hot sauce has spent 3 years of life inside of a whiskey barrel. Now, Jason, after you tried all of these, I have a question for you. Which one was your favorite? 1, 2, or 3? You like number 2? Love it. We're no longer friends, though. Just saying. Now, Jason, this one here holds the title of 2 things in this room. It is the oldest bourbon at a 6-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon. It's also the highest proof at 120.5. It's a spicy meatball, but it doesn't drink that way. I always tell people, if you're used to high proof bourbons, it's kind of hard to go back down to drinking 80 and 90 proofs because you don't taste as much. So please drink responsibly. Now, before I tell you the good news or bad news, I'm going to talk about 2 of our other brands out there. I've already talked about the Buckner 17. The Old Route 8 is our mainstay bourbon. If you come back here tomorrow, or if you come back in here in 8 years, that brand of bourbon will always be in this building. Never going anywhere. Very good flavor on your palate, warm going down. Now, the other brand I like to talk about is the 0.1% in this building that's not a single barrel cask strength bourbon. That is a White Oak Project that's up there underneath the Buckner 17. That one kind of holds a near and dear special to my heart because that is my personal blend. And it was aged in a port wine barrel for about 6 weeks. So, Jason, I highly recommend giving that a shot after this tour, as well as the Old Route 8 and the Buckner 17. Highly recommended. So, on your way back home, Jason, if you decide, man, I really love that 2-year-old River Proof series, what this is, I have to stop and buy a bottle. You ain't going to find it. You're not even going to find this if you go up to the closest liquor store to us, which is about 10 miles away. You ain't going to find it. That is because the youngest bourbon that will ever leave these walls to be distributed is 8 years or older. You know, these are all under 8. That's the bad news. You can't find these as soon as you leave here. Brings me to my good news. You're already here at the distillery, Jason. I mean, if you want a bottle of these, you might as well get it while you're here. I just saved you a trip back if you don't want to see my pretty face again. Now, we'll go over prices. All 3 of these bourbons are all available out front next to the air conditioner that looks just like that one. This young 2-year-old, cheapest bottle in the distillery, one of the leading sellers, because it is a great one for only 2 years old, is $59.99 a bottle. This 4-year-old is next up at $79.99 a bottle, and this 6-year-old is following up at $99.99 a bottle. But I don't want you to just buy one, right? If you love all 3 of these, we're going to give you a bundle deal. Just like the great Billy Mays used to say at the end of his OxyClean commercials. But wait, there's more. You want to walk out of here with a 4-year-old, 2-year-old, and a 6-year-old bottle, you can do that for a one low time payment of $199.99, which basically makes your favorite around $20. So, by buying the Riverproof series, off the shelf is boring, sucks, downright lame. I don't want you to do that. I want you to have your adult version of Build-A-Bear experience. I want you to go back there and I want you to grab an empty bottle from underneath that table. Right? We got boxes stacked of them over there. I don't want you to buy one off the shelf. What I want you to do, Jason, is take that empty bottle, bring it up here and fill it up with these Whiskey Thieves from the barrel that you sampled today. After you do that, my man, you grab some of our Riverproof series labels and you get to write down all this information from the barrel that you sampled. Your personalized label. You can write little hearts, draw kisses, say Corey was amazing. I do not care. It's your label, your bottle. If you get all the labels on, you seal it up with a kiss and a secret right there on the cork. Now, the prices are the same, but this is what you came here for this experience, not buying it off the shelf like every other distillery you go to. So, Jason, would you like to fill up any of these bottles today?
Let's take all three.
All three? Awesome. So, all right, Jason, so which one do you want to do first? 4 or 2?
4.
All right, so I'm going to hold the bottle for you if you want to go around to that other side. So I'm going to get down here, and we're just going to alternate these in and out. You want to pull it up? Keep going until how high you can go. Keep going. Pull it, pull it, pull it, pull it, pull it. Yeah, pull it. Look at that skill. You've done this before, haven't you? It'll probably take about 4 or 5. I'll take that one, Trey. Yep. This one here is going to go a little bit faster.
All right.
It's got a bigger hole. Yep. So what's your plans after this, Jason? Where are you heading?
Hartfield.
Hartfield? Okay.
And the Bluegrass Distillery just called up. They have a bottle of their blue corn.
Yep.
Found for me, so I'm going to go pick that up. Yep, my Airbnb is outside.
Yep. So the man holding the phone, his name is Mr. Anthony Johnson.
Yep.
We got hired the same day together. His 1 year's coming up as well.
Right?
Yep, put your thumb back on. Yep, go ahead and let it drain out right there. I want to use that one again on the next bottle.
That's a good one.
You want to lay that by number 1 on your table. Next up, my man, this one. Oh. You're just showing off now.
I'm showing off now, yes I am. Any fun I have like 12 bottles and go back in the suitcase.
Yeah.
Overweight. So it's like, ah! But you keep telling me I'm all three. So well
Awesome,
done.
awesome. Glad I could be of service.
And the experience. Yeah. I don't have an alcohol problem. I have a purchasing problem.
So, Jason, how many bottles do you think you have in your collection?
Over 1,000.
Over 1,000? My collection, I think I've got 4.
Well, I've been doing this longer than you have.
Yeah.
And I have world whiskeys, not just bourbon.
But I got you.
I'm not counting empty bottles. I am counting open bottles and
Perfect.
closed bottles.
Yep, just put that drain back out in the barrel. I'm going to pour a smidge of this out, that way the cork won't explode.
Yep.
You're okay. You'll never spill more than I have. Promise. Promise you on that one. One more bottle. Anthony, his favorite was barrel number 2. Barrel 2, the young 2-year-old.
Yeah, I know. It was really nice. I like that. Yeah.
So in my blend that I've got up there, Jason, it has 53 gallons of that 4-year-old and 7 gallons of the 6-year-old. Because it was aged in that white port barrel.
Yeah.
I've never seen white port a day in my life. I didn't know it looked like motor oil.
Well,
So
real white port, I was in Portugal, Porto, and
yeah,
just white wine.
yeah.
That fortified.
So myself and Anthony was there the day that we looked at it, and we were like, oh my God. It was weird coming out of that barrel. Very thick.
Yeah.
Very unique. Yeah. This one here is going to take longer to fill because we have less to give. Yeah. After 6 years and all the bottles. Probably have to do this once or twice more. This one may finish it. I don't know. It'd be close. Perfect. Look at that. It's like we planned that out, didn't we? All right, hold that, Jason. I'm going to take you over there and start writing out your labels. So I've learned to hide my cheat sheet. Yeah, I hide them that way. That way people don't obviously cheat. All right, Jason, what you're going to do is you're going to copy down all the information, proof, alcohol, barrel age, which is all right here. The bottom line is today's date, which is 8/16/24. Like I said, up here, this is your custom label. You can do whatever you want to.
Here are proof.
Yep.
So I can do these. Okay, let's do both. All right,
And then after that, the mash bill stickers is here at the bottom.
Mash and bourbon hard.
Very hard.
Yeah, times 2. So,
While you're doing this, I'm going to, so it'll be, yep. So while you're doing this, I'm going to start heat sealing up some of your bottles and bring them over to you. Oh, Jason, you forgot the best part.
what did I do? Not do.
You didn't kiss the cork and tell the secret. I can't seal it up. I'll bring the other two over here to you in just a second. Number 1. Here you go, my man, if you want to do that one. Arms smell like bourbon now.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I just can't walk in front of an open flame for a while.
Not a bad problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd much rather smell like bourbon early in the day than right before I leave.
Right up here.
All right, Jason, I'll put this one in for you.
Go for it.
I ain't gonna use that one. The mash bill sticker is not regulated. That is for your knowledge. That way, after you get back home, if you forgot what they were, you now know. All right, Jason, so the river, now this is your personalized bottle. I don't care how these go on there.
Okay.
I want to tell you the normal way.
Yeah.
After that, it's all
All
yours.
right, let's do the normal way first.
Front,
Yep.
back, side. So
Okay.
these are universal bottles.
Yeah.
Now they can go up or upside down, sideways, diagonal. I do not care. You got your bung, Jason?
I do in my pocket.
If you want me to, I'll sign it for you. I know it sounds weird. but I've been known to sign a bunger to in my day.
As long as the wife knows.
She's very well aware. Hers may be signed too. You don't know.
I don't know.
So Jason, I had a 70-year-old grandma come up here and say, Corey, why don't you sign it like that? I was like, you are a genius.
Yeah.
So Jason, oh yeah. So the room you were just in, was built in 1904. That's an extremely long time ago. So the founding company was called the F.A. Niter Company. They started out making buttons, clips, and fasteners way back in 1883. Now those buttons and fasteners were mostly for stagecoaches. That is one reason why the streets of Augusta are so narrow. Same reason that it's like Cincinnati as well. They're made around stagecoaches, not full-size SUVs and sedans. Now, when cars came out, they made a good business decision. I'll do it for cars too. Mind blown. Now, they were a GM facilitator. So they did Chevrolet, Buick, Pontiac, and Oldsmobile. So if you've ever seen the older GM vehicles, my mom had a 93 Chevrolet Lumina with a button sewn into the seat, literal pain in your butt. Those were all made here at this plant. Now, this place was in business up until 2008. And I always tell people, you had a 401k in 2008, sorry for your loss now. I skipped through that recession by the skin of my teeth. I was a junior in high school. So that is when this great F.A. Niter company closed their doors. They was in business over 120 years. They were doing something right. The only thing that happened was the recession. So after that, the building was abandoned, Jason, all the way up until 2017. That is when all 10 owners, husbands and wives, they started leasing this building out to rent to start building their distillery. 2018, they eventually bought the building from the city. 2019 started construction, and we both remember how it happened in 2020. No matter what side of the fence you're on COVID, it was bad for all parties. So it paused everything. We couldn't have people. We couldn't have construction guys here. That is one reason why construction is still ongoing. Opening day to the public was March 5th, 2022. That is when we opened up our doors. Now, we wasn't in this great place over here. We were next door in the bottling line and the warehouse. So, one other tour spot, you can come right over here and look at it. Right here, we're doing something that's really unique to this distillery. One Sunday every month, the next one being August 25th, we are rolling our own cigars on site. So if you love cigars, or if you want to learn about the whole process from seed to cigar, this is where you want to come to do this. A local farmer named Steve Cummings, he is bringing his leaves here that are full in cask and ready to go, and he's teaching you how to roll your own cigar. This is one that's a couple years old that we rolled. Now, this is a very unique tour. It's a $99 experience, but you get a flight of bourbon, you get to roll your own cigar, you get your own cigar box, matchsticks, and a brand new cigar as well. So, you get this whole experience for $99 one Sunday a month. The reason it's only one Sunday a month, this guy's a farmer for a living. So we have to work around his schedule. The more and more people that book this, that may be becoming every Sunday thing, and then every other Saturday, or maybe throughout the week. Just who knows? So as you can tell, Jason, we are under construction, right, from pretty much every aspect. This room here is going to be called the Niter Room. One of our associates named Caitlin Bond, she has been in charge of renovating this room to remember the history of the building, right? Because the worst thing that we could do is erase 120 plus years of this building and helping out Augusta. We don't want to do that. So this is where we're going to do that. So this here, the red and the white, this is what you would have seen 13 years ago when you came to Augusta and seen this building. Now on this wall over here, this is going to be our gallery wall. This is where we're going to have old pictures of the building, old schematics, old little parts of like the magazine, stuff like that. That way if you can kind of see and almost kind of visualize. One other thing that is kind of unique is this safe. This safe is original to the building, weighs almost 1,000 pounds probably, give or take. And this is going to be part of our display. It has some of the old notes, some of the old bonds, some of the old, just a lot of everything, recordings, good history of the F.A. Niter building. Now, before I show you production, one thing I always like to tell people. Me and Anthony started here August 23rd of last year. Nothing through this door was on site, even the floor, right? I think we watched them put the rebar down, so nothing was here. So follow me, Jason. Like I said, the floor wasn't here, so this has all happened in under a year. Every piece of pipe, they actually had to raise the ceiling a little bit to get everything in. So everything here, so these are our mash cookers. Basically in here we make grits and or oatmeal. Cooks in there for about 6 to 8 hours on average. Then after that, do what?
The size?
3,000 gallons apiece, so 6,000 gallons in total. Then Jason, after that, it gets piped down to one of our 18 fermenters. Why do we have 18? I'm gonna tell you. 8-ish hours max in there. We're doing a more traditional aspect when it comes to fermenting. We're not trying to speed the process up like a lot of other distilleries, like a 2-day fermentation. We're not doing that. We're doing a solid 3 to 4 day fermentation the traditional style way. So we have 2 of those mashers. We have 18 of these. That way we can always be cooking and always be fermenting. Now bourbon has very few ingredients. Water, yeast, grain. That's it. The fermenters is where the yeast comes into play. The moment we add our yeast to these fermenters, we now make distiller's beer. I have personally never tried it, but I've been told it's pretty rough. Now, it's going to sit in there for about 4 days, like I said. Its next spot is going to be right over here on the back side. We have a big beer well where everything will get piped into there. Now basically as a distillery, we basically make beer. We're no different than a regular brewery, but we don't stop there. We decided to make that beer better. That is where the stills come into play. And so this is eventually going to be part of our average production tour, but it's not going to be average, it's going to be upscale like we do everything here. So if you turn around, you can see all the open top fermenters. That way when you're walking up here, you can see everything. So everything to your back, that is that giant beer well where all of our beer come into play. In this room right here, this is our still house. We have 2 32-foot tall by 14-inch in diameter copper column stills. Why we went with column? They're more consistent, they're easier to use. Now over here to our left, right here, this is our spirit safe. If you've ever seen a riverboat before, that's the theme we were going for. So the liquid coming from the top down will actually hit those paddle wheels and it'll spin like a paddle boat. This is where if you want to take a lot of pictures, if you're here with friends and family, this is going to be the spot to do that. Now, the other spot I'd like to talk about is our outdoor activity area, which is underwater as we speak. Out there, that is going to be called the yard. Out there is going to be more family friendly. We're going to have pickleball tournaments here. We're going to have cornhole boards here. We're going to have a food truck. That way if you don't want to eat stale pretzels, we're going to have a food truck on site. Now future plans are going to be a wood-fired pizza oven on site as well. So production's happening very, very soon, very, very quickly. Pretty much everything is new. And I'm one of the few people, as long as my friend Anthony, that has got to see a distillery be built right before us. All right, so the 3 over here, this is what you just sampled in the thieving experience. These 3, like I said, are distillery release items only. So if you don't want to fill it out of the barrel for whatever reason, we do have different barrels, same mash bills up here. It's the traditional, high rye, and high wheat. Next up, this is our Buckner 17. This one here, I always say if you try any bourbon at this distillery, try this one last, because everything after this is going to suck. Yeah. So the younger brother, the 13, won best bourbon. The 15 won best craft whiskey. We've sent this off for competitions. We're just kind of waiting to see how many it's going to win, not if, it's how many. This one right here is the one I was talking about. This is my personal blend that I came up with. About 9 to 10 months worth of alcohol training has got me into this one here. So this one here was aged about 6 weeks in a white port barrel. It's a very unique taste. It's more bourbon forward than a lot of other finished bourbons are, and that's what I was going for. And then Jason, this here's our Old Route 8. This one here's our mainstay bourbon, like I said earlier. It'll always be at this distillery no matter when you walk in those doors. All three I would recommend trying before you leave.
Die Augusta Brennerei war eine der beeindruckendsten Orte auf meiner Reise, sowohl die Erlebnis selbst abzufüllen von diesen 3 Fässern, wie auch einfach, was sie da hingestellt haben. Double Column Stills. Ich erwarte Großes von denen und ja, ich bin dankbar, dass ich diesen Tour dort vor Ort machen durfte und dieses Film für euch drehen konnte. Auch der Eingang, Ausgang ist so eine tolle Lösung, günstig, aber super.